Hi, welcome to my channel. I tried putting a title on this video and then it was like not letting me go live or whatever, so I just made my title more simple. Oops, it's my phone buzzing. And but I can like change the title later anyway. Like I was like thinking I could call it like the road ahead and just like because like this is a strange time, right? Of course. And so anyway, some things I was thinking about was how like some of the people that brought us to this point, like different people, um like had like mean parents and stuff and like exhibited some kind of like antisocial, maybe like psychopathic or narcissistic behavior like Rockefeller and stuff. Um, and, like, that need to like, if your life was out of control, you wanna, like, control everything and everybody and get then it becomes I'm not a psychologist, but, like, it's, like, obviously some things like massive corporations that, like, bring things down, like, a weird path that is, like, not helpful in the end, um, that's, like, antisocial, so it's, like and a lot of these, again, I'm not a historian. It's I've said before, it's like it was my worst subject in high school. But, you know, but I'm, like, old enough, I've seen a few little stories or read some things along the way. So, anyway, it seems like Rockefeller had a big hand in making things worse for society. And, so and like somebody who knows more details could uh whatever, but like his upbringing was like really scary and difficult and stuff. And then so we had and there are other examples that are current where you have like someone like Elon Musk who like everybody knows like had a difficult upbringing and like a father who was uh, like doing wrong stuff and allegedly. And anyway, this video is for entertainment purposes only. But I'm just trying to say like uh that environment which formed them, people, I'm saying in general, people who had like a really um unemotional, unempathetic childhood with a lot of pressure on them and stuff, then grow up and create things, and they might not be like beneficial in the long run. And so here we are with like the invention of the corporation and like, which is like a fake person or whatever. It's like who like if they ruin the environment or this or that, like it's like, oh well, it was a make believe entity, so like you can't come after anybody. Just like poof, um and that kind of like lack of responsibility for your actions is like new. It's relatively new, this that concept and that put into practice. And like while it may seem normal now, it's like that thing where people say, it's good to learn about the past so you're not gonna repeat big mistakes, or like, you can make better better choices based on the mistakes of the past and stuff. So, it just seems kinda I haven't started my intuitive reading yet. I'm just sort of setting the stage for things I'm gonna be intuitive about it in a moment, but, these these things that are like a corporation is an unnatural thing, and, like, we live in nature, like, we, like, the food that we eat grows in dirt at some point, and, like, we drink water that's, like, in nature, our whole life revolves around nature. Even if you live in, like, a really modern modern house or whatever, it's still sitting on top of dirt or whatever. So, and then to introduce, like, these sort of things that only serve, a small number of people, like a corporation, it's like, "Oh, I can do, like, you know, whatever I want and then not be liable," or so it's like these kinds of inventions that are relatively new are really tripping up then, like, nature and how we live. Like, for instance, like, right now I'm living, like, next to the wilderness, basically, like, sure, there's people around, but, like, if I walked, 1 kilometer north or something, there wouldn't be a lot of people for a long time. So, it's like, uh and so, like, I'm really getting to know, like, you know, my the blue jay that's always coming by and, like, and, like, the various like, this du all the ducks that first it was, like, 5 ducks, now it's, like, 20 ducks, and, like, you get they're, like, nature's friendly and stuff, so and curious, so, uh, it's even if you're not familiar with living close to nature, if when you do encounter it, like, you'll realize, like, animals and stuff, like, they're curious and, um, friendly, and, like, we fit in, like, with nature and stuff, so it's not like a battle, it's not like a territorial battle, like, there's a way to live in harmony with nature, and so a lot of the problems that we're coming up with now, I think, like, have a lot to do with, like, the make believe aspects that are like corporate stuff or like and then just as another layer to that, um like in a time of crisis, it makes sense to like let's say in your neighborhood, everybody insists you have grass, which is like a relatively new-ish thing to have in your yard. Like if you think back like a few centuries or even a couple of centuries, like it's um like royalty was like, we're gonna have grass because we're not so desperate that we gotta grow our own food in our front yard, But it's like at this point we all need to grow at least our own tomatoes and lettuce and stuff in our yard. So because it's hard to get reasonably priced food because of the all the I'm not gonna use buzzwords, but like obviously the prices have gone up for reasons that you know about right now in 2025. So it makes sense to do these like micro changes to kind of ease the stress of the moment right now. And it's not easy to grow everything indoors. So I think it makes sense to have like just like a friendly conversation with the neighborhood or wherever you live and just be like, getting an allowance of a certain portion of your yard. That can be a little vegetable garden, even if it's in the front or like what, just like make it possible. Or if there's public spaces, maybe some of that can be like free food, free garden food, like for whatever, you know what I mean? Stuff it's like stuff has to change. Like it can't just be like cityscapes and suburban scapes have to be like these sort of uh garden deserts and stuff like that. Like it's it's normal. Like, for instance, like, if I walk down the street or in the woods or something, I'm gonna run into, like, a blueberry bush or a raspberry bush, and it's cool to just be like, "Oh, here's a snack," or whatever, and, like, that has to be we gotta work that back in to, like, our where we live and stuff. So, because like, I remember I've said this in another video, like, at one time, my dad bought this cottage in Nova Scotia, and there was an elderly couple next door, and they had, like, their garden that'd been going forever, and my dad would, like, buy vegetables and stuff from them, and, like, they tasted so much better than anything you'd find in a store, and, like, even just for, like, gourmet reasons, it's better to grow your own vegetables and stuff. Um, it just makes sense, and, like, like, I started, just to, like, save money, I started doing my own, like, sourdough bread and, like, making my own yogurt and stuff, and actually, like, it tastes better than what I would get at the store anyway, and it's fresher, so it's cheaper and but, so it, like, makes sense to work in, like, self-sufficiency for either gourmet reasons or cost saving reasons. Anyway, I'm gonna, like, tune into the energy of, some of the stuff talking about, like, just, like, the concept of, like, corporations and, like, whether it's helpful or not helpful. I'm gonna try to, like, open the timeline a bit to sort of see it's before it started and maybe if it goes away or I don't even know. I mean, the feeling I get right now is kinda, like, about how, like, more and more it's becoming, like, fewer and fewer people with huge companies rather than, like, a bunch of people with big-ish or medium-sized companies, and I feel like I'm just getting, like, 3 kind of players, who are, like, fighting a lot about, let me I was gonna say territorial stuff, but I just wanna see. Yeah, it kind of feels like I'm getting this feeling like 80% of the vibe of, like, the strength or validity or, like, the health of some of these massive corporations, like, 80% of it is, like, totally not stable, and then I feel like they're panicking, the owners of these, like, few of these really massive corporations, but it's like, it's like the best laid plans, uh, like, 'cause, nature's gonna do some table flipping and, um yeah, the whole notion it comes down to, like, the notion of control, like, it's like Doctor Evil or something, like, someone who's, like, so obsessed with control, but, like, the fabric of reality isn't, like, a still thing, like, it's not something that can be controlled, like, like, energy moves and stuff. I kinda get this feeling it's like the joke's on them, like, for even trying, like, for even going down that road, and that, like, a lot of life is just, like, you and your creator, like having a longish conversation with a few, like, tests along the way and stuff. I feel like some of the bigger corporations are gonna be, like, laughed about in the future for being, like, so off the mark, like anyway, this reading's for entertainment purposes only, okay? It's using I'm just listening to my intuition, okay? Don't get all whatever. But, you know, in general, I try to reach for, like, an optimistic, um, read or whatever. So, yeah, it kind of feels like this has come up a bit in another video, like, it's sort of like Betamax where or like, you know, it's like, that's cool, you know, for a moment, and then it's, like, out of date, like, very quickly, and also people are I'm not gonna say they're waking up because in every part of, human history, there's been a spiritual aspect, so it's not like, "Oh, people are waking up." People are always, you know, maybe, like, poor diet or stress or, you know, being overworked and, like, things like that could get in the way of, being as intuitive as you could be, but, I don't feel that, like I mean, people talk about, like, the evolution of humans and, like, the Earth and everything like that, but I'm just gonna see what I pick up on that, like I feel like right now is a stage where it's, like, simplicity rather than, like, a barrage of, like, you know like, it's like people have tried everything, and it's like there's a thing that the vibe I get of, like, "Hold up, like, what works? What doesn't work?" Like, this, you know, like, wars and, like, you know, because 'cause it's been kinda, like, nonstop wars and, is that, like, lockstep with, like, the invention of the corporation? Like, you know, it'd be interesting to see what lines up there in terms of the motivation for, like, warfare and stuff, and, you know, instead of just, like, minding your own business. You know? Um, okay. Yeah, it's kinda like the people that started some of these major corporations, they're humans and they have a lifespan, and I sort of feel like the it's sort of like when, like, Steve Jobs apparently is no longer with us, and, it's you know, even when he left Apple the first time, like, things really went south, uh and then he made Next computers, and I bought one because my dad recommended it because he was one of the, like, salesmen for Next or whatever, distributors, and then he came back, and it was, like, sorta cool again, and then, whatever, and, like, when he's really gone, it's like, you know, now there's no mini jack. It's just, like, malevolent vibes or whatever, so once, like, the leader leaves, it's kinda like that product, like, like, loses its life and purpose and stuff. Um, yeah, so I just sort of I feel like some of these massive corporations are sort of grandstanding, like, "We're here, we're so here," but it's like it wasn't that long ago that those corporations didn't even exist, right? And like they might have uh, outgrown their use, or you know, things, situations, and things have evolved such that like maybe people don't want to order vegetables on their computer by like checking boxes and stuff. They want to like grow it in their backyard and have like the local Karens like back off in terms of like using some of your yard for garden growing food and stuff. Like I know like Martha Stewart's sort of taking a left turn and it's like has some other side businesses, but like she would be a good person. Like old Martha Stewart, like 90s, 2000s Martha Stewart would have been like good to sort of promote like making your own like vegetable garden at home, even in like posh neighborhoods and stuff. Like place neighborhoods with restrictions on rules of what you can do. That would, I wouldn't want to live in a neighborhood like that. Like when you hear about them, like when I watch stuff from the States and they talk about like people in their community freaking out on you over like small stuff about your yard, like that's crazy. So okay, so it's big, yeah, these big corporations is just sort of like they're really just, I feel like, holding on by the edge of their nails, like it's a real show of bravado, but like meanwhile, like uh things aren't, it's not working. But what does work, like when all the power shuts off and like everything's just like nature's still working. So it's good for everybody to like just learn a bit more about stuff and like just to like make life a bit more relaxing. You don't always have to like go out to get food. Like, you're growing something at home, or you've made like a cool pantry of preserves and stuff. Like just go 1920s grandma. Um like it doesn't have to be like a fearful thing, just like a daily kind of connection with life. And like it's a flex to have like homemade jam and stuff like that uh in a cupboard or whatever. All right, so where are we? Corporations, past and future. Yeah, I feel like this kind of narrowing down of that kind of format of forceful means and like fake entity kind of like corporate mindset kind of stuff. So like how like trends like job trends and educational trends and whatever, like it might be cool to not put like nature as just like a whatever kind of thing, because like the more we abuse it, the less it's like intact, and then it affects our lives. And like I don't know much about the weather and like things like that, but like apparently it can have like a bad effect in general, or make things more stormy, or I don't even know. But let's just say like when we treat it right, it treats us right. So I think like instead of this emphasis on like manipulating stuff and like you know the to try to like live in harmony with it without, in small increments. Also, yeah, like, I do feel that, because it's like a lot of people I'm picking up about like fast food stuff. Like the word is out that it's like not good for you. Like, and maybe fewer people will uh, down the road want to take part in that. So, like, I remember years ago, like 10 years ago, I was sort of picturing like a certain uh, a a certain fast food place that has like a Scottish name. Like I just saw them being like just empty, and then like you know, but then like maybe people were like repurposing those spaces as sort of like just a place to hang out or whatever. So yeah, and so like a message I get next to that is like if cooking and stuff like that can't be put into like education for like primary school and stuff like that, and through primary through high school, um then it would be good as parents or community members to create like an option for like after school or weekend like cooking class. So like it's like if kids aren't learning that at home, like there's an opportunity in their community to like learn how to cook, because it's not every parent that like loves cooking. So that's where it's like nice where the community can like step in, and because there's stuff like different clubs or there's a lot of sports and stuff like that, but like having life skills, like knowing that if you have like a potato and an onion and a tomato, you can there's a lot you could do with that, but like just as just raw vegetables, it might seem daunting to someone, but like a lot of everybody's favorite food are like based on those three simple things that don't cost that much, like, and then if you become even like halfway good at cooking at home, then you don't need to run out and get fast food. Okay, what else? Yeah, I'm not getting like I think I'm getting the feeling like the things that'll work to help like make things better are not like angry, confrontational stuff. It just feels like tiny efforts by individuals to like make stuff happen, or like street by street, or neighborhood by neighborhood, just trying to like make little micro oh that's so cute. It's like a little chipmunk. um like micro alterations to be like, well, can we have tomato plants in a container on the front, like, or can we, and then like just easing your like inch by inch gaining more ground, as it were, like to have like to be able to grow your own food outside at your house, or to introduce like life skill stuff like back into school. But if like for whatever reason the school system that you deal with is very like lockstep, like regimented, like no budging with the extra stuff like arts and cooking lessons and stuff like that, then there's community centers, or you can make a group of people, a parent group or whatever, and just like do easy stuff so that it's, like, normalizing, uh, food preparation and stuff for kids so that it's, like, they don't feel like, there's nobody's gonna say, like, "I don't know how to cook." And also, cause like, bread a lot of the bread that's in stores is, like, really full of preservatives and stuff, so, like, at the very least in school, do, like, the sourdough have your, like, sourdough starter in your classroom, and, like, you all make bread so that you're not having to use knives or anything, but you make your bread and then you cook it, and then it's like, "Yay," Um, okay, and then what else? This chipmunk is so cute. Um, Also, I'm loving how quiet it is today, like, Mondays are really loud here 'cause, like, it's construction, but, like, today's you could, like, hear every leaf move and stuff, it's nice. The corporation thing feels like in the timeline of life, like, this sort of angry spike that's relatively short, so I feel like it's not like, I would focus on something else, like, something more productive and, like, positive. Like, I know things there seems to be, like, a lotta it's like a wasp's nest of, like, bad news right now, but, like, at the same time, nature's still there, like, "Hello," like, there's beautiful parts of the earth, and even just having, like, a house plant or a pet or whatever can, like, draw you back into that mindset of feeling connected and that easy kind of friendship you have with, like, life. Um, like, I think in the future, people, like, looking back at all the weird stuff people are up to, like, around now and, like, just in these these times where people are kinda going down the wrong path. Um, I guess, like, just as a final note on this reading, it feels like anytime that you can like, I know there's a lot of, like, things in place to not support intuition and, like, psychic ability and, like, sensitivity and things like that, like, if let's say like, one thing that bugs me is, like, let's say someone's going through it and they wanna seek counseling. I don't think I could be wrong, but, like, I don't think psychologists and psychiatrists have, like, uh, a check box for, like, "Oh, they're psychic," like, a a diagnostic test for that. I think, like, they would find, like, clairaudience and, like, things like that, like, they would call it something else that is, uh, not productive. So, so it's still kinda like a bit of an intolerant time for that kinda stuff, but, nonetheless, it's good to, uh, like, meditate in the sense of allowing taking the time to, like, allow your thoughts to flow and, like, just observe them at a distance without, like, feeling like, "Oh my god," like, why did that thought come in my head? Just like just become good at reading that kind of subtle book of imagery and stuff and thoughts and just let it like tell its story and just observe. And then the more time you interact with that, like the better and more comfortable you'll get at like finding useful information and insight and stuff that'll help maybe you'll get like a cool business idea or whatever. But I feel like it's important for people to like to tune in because it's like I don't know, it's like corny. But like reading stuff psychically is kind of like there's every kind of information available to you, and the only thing that like blocks that is like kind of doubt or not practicing uh, being in that space and like just getting comfortable with it and stuff. And you may have a knack for it already, or it might take years of just like patience with yourself and just knowing that it is available. But like, also trying to stay as healthy as possible. It helps keep things like chill when you do meditate. Like, um, all right. So yeah, in terms of the future, I feel like this kind of mean period of time will seem like a angry kind of spike in the timeline. So there's reason to be positive because I feel like it gets better. And part of that is understanding like the intelligence and the perfection of nature and trying to like learn more about it and like vibe with it instead of like not everything has to happen in a lab. Like like there's a lot of good that can come from taking a nature walk and stuff. And I'll just say like one more thing. like, like when I was in the Adirondacks one time, we just pulled over for like a little hike. There was some families who were like freaking out about like, oh, there might be bears in the woods, but it's like they live there. And like in on the East Coast, the bears are smaller. Like it's not like the West Coast. So and if you jangle your keys or you talk loudly or and you're not trying to go up to like little bear cubs and testing the mother's patience, like if you don't surprise them, it's usually not a problem. And also like don't if you're camping, like have your food like far away from your tent, like strung up in a tree or like just not where you're sleeping. Like if like stuff like just like basic stuff like that. Um but like it was hard to um hear these families like talk about like saying that they like had a gun and like that is like and scaring the kids. It's like just take the time. Like we have all these like YouTube videos and stuff. Like take the time to learn about different animal species and what they like, what they don't like, how much distance they like. Do they like eye contact or not? Like, do they, like stuff like that? How to avoid problems or whatever. So, um, just to get out of like the fear zone of that and just to like, so you have an alternative to this like sort of structured imposition of not nature that is going on a lot right now and that isn't really working long term and will seem very outdated in the short term. That's what I feel. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this reading, and I guess what you could do is like learn like what are the local wildlife in my area, and then just learn about what they need to be comfortable, like where they like to sleep or live or what they eat and like, things like that. And just to get in the zone. Or like, what are some edible plants, like the dandelion? Assuming people aren't putting lots of chemicals on them. Like I think every part of the dandelion is edible, like, and really good for your like liver. And if you put good salad dressing on it, won't be like as bitter. Or if you like have other stuff in your salad but like stuff like that. Like there's a lot of free food out there if you learn what's possible. Yeah. But there's a lot of stuff that's poisonous. So you gotta watch it. But like, just start learning if you're not already like totally a master at that. Like, even if you learn one thing a week about your area and nature in it and stuff, it'll benefit you. Okay, so any last word? I'm also getting this thing about like people, like, let's say you did like a Marie Kondo on your clothes. Like, what are my absolute favorite pieces? Like, maybe I don't need 20 shirts, or like really getting it down to like the best, a curated collection of like your stuff, and to try to like not just like grab too many things. And like because like if you just have a bunch of stuff and you hardly touch it, like or like you could decide like, well, I have all these clothes, but I also feel like I have nothing to wear. So it's like, well, what are you actually looking for? And maybe have someone make it for you, or like stuff like that. Because I'm getting this message about like people would enjoy streamlining their wardrobe so they're not like burdened with like too much stuff. Um, and I do feel, one last thing is like, I feel like this is like, it could be a challenge for people to like, let's say you don't like know everyone in town, or you might feel a bit lonely or disconnected or something. Just like choose, like, just meet one person a week. And it doesn't have to be like knowing everything about them. It's just literally just like being friendly to someone. Um in a non-awkward way. Like, whatever seems, like, let's say if before you would have been very like cut off or unfriendly, or be like, hey, how's it going, or have a good day, or whatever. Just like go that micro step further and enjoy these, like, instead of like getting up in people's grill about like this, like a lot of transformation can take place in these like micro uh changes that like benefit everybody. All right. Okay, that's my reading. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you guys have an idea for a reading that you want, also I just also I put my comments to subscribers only. But if you did subscribe and you ask a question, next time I do a reading, I will answer it live. And take a break from whatever subject I'm talking about. Because it would be great to like get my subscribers up to 1,000. Oh my gosh, it'd be amazing. And if you were part of that, I would be very grateful to you. All right. So have a good day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.